Recognition is Essential by Marty McCafferty. The diver was an experienced 48-year-old female with more than 300 lifetime dives. Her medical history included hypertension, which was well controlled with a single medication. She also took a prescription drug to manage cholesterol. Her general health and fitness were otherwise good. The diver was on a trip at a popular Caribbean island. The first 4 days of diving consisted of 2 morning dives each day. None of these dives were deeper than 18 meters, and all bottom times were within the computer's no decompression limits. Her second dive each day was to 18 meters or shallower, and she breathed air on all the dives. On the 5th day, her first dive was a multi-level one to a maximum depth of 24 meters for a total of 40 minutes. The dive was uneventful, and she exited the water approximately 11:30 a.m. Within 5 minutes of surfacing, the diver began to feel slightly short of breath while she was removing her equipment. This was followed by soreness in her middle and upper back. As she was moving her equipment, she noticed reduced strength in her right arm. Almost simultaneously, both of her feet began to tingle, and the sensation progressed up both legs to her waist. Fatigue accompanied all these symptoms. She reported the situation to the dive boat crew. They did not act alarmed and suggested that oxygen was not necessary because the reported weakness in the right arm resolved on its own within 15 minutes. The diver chose not to participate in the second dive. The other divers were in the water for an hour, and during that time her symptoms seemed to resolve, except for the tingling in her feet. Back at the resort, the symptoms did not return, but the tingling in her feet remained unchanged. She did not engage in any vigorous physical activity that afternoon, and after dinner, retired for the evening at approximately 9:45 p.m. At 11:30 p.m., the diver awoke due to acute discomfort in her bladder. She discovered that she was unable to urinate, and upon reflection realized that she had not done so since the dive that morning. She took a warm shower, during which she became aware of unusual sensations in her feet and patchy, insensitive areas on her legs. She reported that her legs also felt rubbery. As her concern grew, she eventually contacted Dan and spoke to the medic on call. Based on the evolution, that means the gradual development of the signs and symptoms she reported, the medic recommended that she be evaluated at a nearby medical facility immediately. She spoke with the resort manager, who transported her to the local clinic. At the clinic, the staff began their evaluation, with the first priority being to empty the diver's bladder. They did so promptly using a urinary catheter. The staff recognized the possibility of a decompression injury and began making arrangements with a local hyperbaric facility. They also placed the diver on high-flow oxygen, 15 liters a minute via a non-rebreather mask. Due to staffing issues, the diver could not be transported to the hyperbaric facility for a further 2 hours, but she did continue breathing high-flow oxygen during the time she waited at the clinic. Upon arrival at the chamber facility, the diver was fully alert and oriented, and able to provide the treating doctor with a detailed account of the events and evolution of her symptoms. The physician conducted a neurological exam and discovered no problems with the diver's right arm. The arms were equal in strength, reflexes were also normal, and the soreness of the middle of the back had not returned. But the neurological examination of the lower extremities revealed reduced strength in the right hip flexor muscles compared to the same muscle on the left side. There was also reduced sensation in the left leg and patchy areas of altered sensation on the right leg. The sensation of hot and cold stimuli was also altered in both feet, and the diver was unsteady while attempting to walk heel to toe. She found it difficult to stand on one leg and reported that her legs still felt rubbery. The treating doctor diagnosed her with decompression sickness type 2 with spinal cord involvement. So the staff initiated a US Navy treatment table 6. Halfway through the treatment, the diver reported improvement. Following this treatment, A follow-up neurological evaluation revealed marginal improvement in strength in the right leg. The diver also reported improved sensation in her feet. She was helped back to the resort, where she slept for a few hours before returning for an additional treatment. During a shower, she noticed improvement in her ability to distinguish hot and cold sensations. The diver's ability to walk heel to toe was also improved, and she had less trouble standing on one leg. The doctor decided to administer a second treatment table 6, after which an evaluation showed still further improvement. The next day, the diver was evaluated again and treated on the US Navy treatment table 5, a shorter table treatment. Again, there was an incremental improvement. 3 additional shorter US Navy treatment table 9s were provided, after which the diver reached a clinical plateau, meaning that there was no further significant improvement. There was still some slight sensory decrement, but the physician's opinion was that this would continue to improve on its own. After waiting the recommended 72 hours, the diver flew home and experienced no worsening of her symptoms during the flight. 2 weeks later, she reported continued daily improvement with only mild sensory alteration remaining in her feet. Discussion. It would be very easy to criticize the boat crew for their failure to act, but they had probably seen people with those profiles without incident many times and were therefore lulled into complacency. Further confounding this case was the spontaneous resolution of most of the diver's symptoms. In other words, they came right on their own. Although this may often happen when breathing 100% oxygen, it can also happen in the absence of oxygen first aid. Although not all the diver's symptoms resolved, the improvement to most of her symptoms made the situation appear less severe than it actually was. It is important to remember that the signs and symptoms this diver exhibited can be considered profound, but even subtle signs or symptoms warrant at least an informal conversation to determine the extent of the problems. Any loss of muscular strength should prompt immediate evaluation and intervention. The DAN Neurological Assessment course provides knowledge and skills for recognizing and assessing potential injured divers. No matter what training you have, don't hesitate to recommend that a diver seek professional medical evaluation. Regardless of whether symptoms appear after a dive, are subtle or obvious, or whether they respond to oxygen first aid or even without it, don't discount the possibility that they will return.